I'm Master Hughes, and this is the Sony PXW X70 camera, and I've already done a report on it, but I'm going to tell you why not to buy this camera now. I admit that the Sony PXW X70 shoots some beautiful video. It does, but I'm going to tell you why not to buy this camera. One, a lot of the editing software still does not have support for the XAVCL software in it, and so when I bought the camera, I thought I was getting a 4K camera. Some of their print and the advertising I read on it was misleading. I thought it was a 4K camera at first, and it had the XAVCSL. And I gotta admit, I didn't think about, is there anybody supporting XAVCL? Well, there wasn't, and my software doesn't. And so I bought the camera, and I have basically only been able to use it for AVCHD video. I haven't been able to use the XAVCL that I wanted. I hadn't been able to use the 4K because the 4K, way I understand right now, it's $649 additional fee to use the 4K on the camera. Okay, so the XAVCL, I haven't had software that would work it. Now finally a couple of companies are putting out software, editing software that handles XAVCL, except I understand it actually won't handle it except in HD. It won't handle the ultra high def on it. Still won't handle it. Now Sony was a camera going towards 2 years old, and Sony has come out with their Catalyst software that supposedly handles XAVCL software in it, but that's an additional $400 more. So you're looking at a camera you may have paid $2,100, $2,200, some of you bought it early, $2,300, that you still have to pay another $649 for 4K on. And guess what? They've got a 3.0 firmware update that will update this from 60 megabytes a second to 100 megabytes a second. Oh, except you don't get that firmware update the way I understand unless you buy the 4K software. They got you either way. A lot of us feel like we're really messed over with Sony on this camera. It's not that the camera's not a great camera. Had they came out with the 4K up front and 100 megabytes up front, this would have been an awesome camera. But what they did instead was they put out several cheaper cameras that already have 4K. Oh, now they've got two new DSLRs that have 4K, and they're cheaper than this camera. Now Sony switches cameras quite a bit, we all know that, and so this one's heading towards, I think, 2 years being out, and so how long will it be before this one's obsolete and they're replacing it? Except a lot of us will never have got to use XAVCL or the 4K because we found out it's so expensive to edit in, and we could buy a newer camera cheaper with 4K. 1-inch sensor and all. So it really doesn't make sense to buy the PXW X70 anymore. Okay? Because it's just a matter of time. They'll update it. And if you buy it, even if you get it a little less price now, I think it's still $649 for the 4K update. And you still have to find out if your editing software will handle XAVCL. Mine still does not. The new edition came out and it still does not. So then you have to go to Catalyst software to handle the XAVCL, and that's more money. This turned out to be a money pit. This camera turned out to be a money pit. And I love the camera. I love the way that it shoots video. It's just an awesome little camera with the handle, except the way the Sony handled everything, where they're moneying us, nickeling us, diming us to death. And we can now buy a cheaper camera that shoots 4K with a 1-inch sensor. Doesn't make sense, people. A lot of people feel burnt by Sony in the way they handle this, and everybody knows when I give a review, I give an honest, truthful review. And I've got to admit, my father was a Sony man, and I'm basically a Sony man. I love Sony cameras, but a lot of us feel like we were crapped on with the PXW X70 because of all these problems. And they can't give away the free 4K update because they started selling it to everybody for $500 or $649. But you can get the new cameras that already have 4K for $1,000, $1,100, $1,400. It doesn't make sense. Don't buy the PXW X70. It is an awesome camera as far as shooting video, but with all the problems and all the add-ons and all the cost, and the fact that how long will it be before they replace this camera with the update, it's a money pit. Alright, this is Master Hughes warning you, beware, and I was really disappointed that Sony handled business this way, and then turned around and put out cheaper cameras with the 4K. Alright, bye-bye.